What's up, people? After 3 days of rapid in Croatia, Firouzja and Pragg are in the top position. But in the first day of blitz, Firouzja won 8 games in 9 rounds. So now Firouzja, of course, is the leader of the tournament, and I'm going to show 4 of his victories of the first day of blitz. The first one that I'm going to analyze is against Pragg, the other leader. So this victory have an importance, huge importance in the tournament. So okay, Firouzja is playing knight f3 and this fianchetto system during all the blitz. He's playing Caro-Kan during all the blitz tournament. It's logical because, okay, your king is very safe, so for a blitz it's very important to have the king safe. Bishop b7 by Pragg, c4, d4, and Pragg is employing this system with c6 in the blitz, and in the rapid system he employed the same too. I analyzed a game against Anis Giri, knight c3, a5, and now Firouzja employed queen d3. For me, this move is a little bit strange because black probably is going to develop the bishop to a6 and you are placing the queen in this diagonal. So okay, this move is a little bit strange, but okay, it's playable. b6, rook d1, bishop a6, and it's true that the queen have not so much sense in this square. b3 by Pragg, of course, defending the pawn, very logical move. b5, and here I really like this pawn sacrifice of Pragg, giving a pawn, but after this pawn takes, now, white is going to play one day a4 to hold the knight, and black is going to have the b4 square for the knight or for the bishop, and added to that, this bishop after the trades are very sad here, because with the pawn on c4, this bishop have some hopes to be open, but now this bishop is bad placed here, and black is landing with his knights on b4 and on e4, and black have his counterplay for the pawn, enough to be equal at least. Knight c6, a4 defending the knight, and now Pragg play knight d5. Here this was another option, just taking back the material. But okay, knight d4 is playable. The problem is that after knight d5 here, knight b5, knight d4 here doesn't work. Because after, okay, it's playable, but after queen b1, bishop b5 as in the other line, with the same idea of queen b8 and recapture the pawn, here with the knight on e4 and e5, we have this intermezzo move of bishop e4, bishop e2, and now bishop h7. And after rook e1, now okay, it's true that the material, okay, white is still having this extra pawn, and white trade the e pawn for the h7 pawn, but usually the central pawns are more important, but in this specific case the h7 pawn was defending the king, and now the black king is a little bit exposed. So bishop d2 played by Firouzja, queen b6, and rook e3, great move. The idea is play e4 and try to come back with the rook to attack, or play rook f3 and attack the f7 pawn. And here Pragg made a decisive mistake, but okay, it's true that the position is hard to defend. Bishop g5 was the only move, and if bishop b4 pawn takes, rook f3, here b5, and okay, this line is in a draw. So bishop g5 was the only hope for Pragg. Instead of that, he captured the d4 pawn, and now bishop c3. Let's see that this bishop is aiming here, so queen here and queen here is a little bit strange, losing 2 tempos. And now Firouzja playing g4, who, okay, it's natural because you want to gain with the rook to h3, but Pragg here find it interesting resource. Rook f3 was simply stronger, just attacking the f7 pawn, and if g5, now bishop g6, and here the plan is very interesting, queen d1 followed by rook f4 and queen h5. I really like this attacking idea. But okay, after g4, Pragg find it the only resource, bishop h4. The idea is that the rook cannot be moved because bishop f2 is coming if that. So knight f3 by Firouzja, bishop here, takes. Okay, it's true that the black king is still being a little bit exposed, but okay, maybe the central pawns can defend black. But here Pragg failed to find the correct move. The only defense is c5, just blockading all the center. Of course, white can try to sacrifice to open files, rook here, but okay, this will end in a draw. Instead of that, Pragg play queen e7, who doesn't work, because just knight d4 coming with the rook to h3, and this is unstoppable. And Pragg resigned 3 months later. So okay, great victory of Firouzja against one of the leaders. Now I'm going to show another of his victories, this one against Botti and Deac. This is maybe the most amazing victory of Firouzja in all the tournament. Because okay, against Pragg he won a good game. But against Deac, he was completely lost, but completely lost with less material, a worse king, less space, worse active pieces. So Deac was completely winning, and incredibly, Firouzja managed to win this game. F5, knight f3, d5. Okay, Firouzja played the Janowski variation, and this is a curse, but well, okay, it's true that the pawn on h6 have no huge sense, but the knight on f3 is bad place too. So okay, this compensates a little bit. Okay, they play this main lane, and here the best option for black is just make the a3 for repetition with the knight. Okay, knight g7. Here h3 is the best, and bishop g3 by Deac, and for Firouzja the best option is just try to make a 3 for repetition, but his opponent have less rating than him, so he decided to try to win the game. Playing bad move is c6. Of course, he knows that knight h5 is the best move, but he wants to play for the win, so for that reason he tried the move c6. But this is not good. I think that if you didn't want to make a draw, don't play this line. So I think that if you play this line, you should accept that the games can end in a draw. So okay, he plays c6, h3, and now white is better. Okay, let's see that the black pieces are a little bit strange here, and these pawns are advanced. So if you advance this pawn, is to take this bishop. If you advance this pawn and you don't take this bishop, you are going to be worse, because this bishop controls also well the long castle, and the short castle is open by these two pawns. So if you play h65, it's to capture the bishop. So okay, he played knight f5, but of course bishop h2, sorry, keeping the bishop safe, queen f6. And here, okay, queen b3 was stronger, just attacking the pawn. But okay, he played queen d2, and now decisive mistake by Firouzja with bishop g7. Because after queen c2, now bishop e5 is coming, and the black queen is more or less trapped. So knight h4 is only move to... Okay, here instead of bishop g7, h5 was very strong, followed by g4, and okay, black is creating some problems. So, but after queen c2 here, the black king is completely trapped. So knight h4 is the only move to solve that problem. But now let's see that this black king is not going to have a safe way, because in the long castle is so open, here is so exposed too. Queen b3 is coming one day with problems. This pawn is so far advanced. These two black bishops are completely close, so here white is completely winning. Added to that, one day he's coming with e4, and white is here completely winning. So Firouzja reached a completely lost position from the opening. And I want to go to the first moment where Deac start to lose the game. Because okay, it's incredible, but Firouzja won with black this position with, let's see, his king on d8, completely unsafe. White have all his pieces in normal squares, the bishop on d3, the knight on c3, the bishop on f4. But especially the black king is very unsafe. White have an extra pawn, better pieces, and more space. So there is no reason for black to win this game. But here Deac make his first mistake, trading queens. Of course, after trade queens, he is still been winning because he have an extra pawn. But your opponent have the king very unsafe, and you are trading queens. This is not a good idea. Not for have more material, you should trade queens and try to win for the endgame. You can still just keeping queens over the board, and your advantage is bigger because your opponent king is very unsafe. So this was the first mistake of Deac. f6 was very strong, just opening lines for his pieces. For example, now we are seeing the advantages of open the 5 square. But okay, after queen e5, he's still been winning. Again, here he made another bad trade because he changed the a6 pawn for the f5 pawn. Another strange, very strange trade by Deac. Here came another slightly mistake with knight c5. For me, the biggest mistake is this one of queen e5, and this other one of bishop a6, trading the f5 pawn for the a6 pawn was a little bit strange for white. He's still been better with the extra pawn. Knight c5, okay, was a little bit stronger. And here comes the decisive mistake who give black the equal according to a mathematical way. Now it's true that the position is harder, but bishop b5 looks very natural attacking c6. Example, if bishop d7, now we return to e3. Maybe this is a little bit more difficult. And rook f1. But okay, it's true that black here is putting problems. If, for example, rook e6, just knight c5, and if f takes e5, rook c6. But okay, for a blitz is not easy. The other position was easier. This is hanging with just extra pawn, a knight in the corner, and black is creating problems with the f6 move. So finally Deac fails again, and here Firouzja reaches the equal. And now another strange move. King f2, very strange. King d4 is the most natural. But okay, the position is still being a draw. But here Deac make a decisive mistake with rook c3. He should just bring the knight to the game. The knight is bad placed on a6. But okay, Firouzja give back the favor, playing h5. Knight d3 and king a3 was winning. But okay, h5. I really like knight d3 because you are avoiding knight before. So the principal idea of knight d3 king here is that you're avoiding the knight to jump to b4. But okay, h5. Okay, they reach this position, and here Deac made the final mistake of the game. Maybe this is one of the easiest position of the whole game, because white can just play rook c7, very logical, attacking this pawn, and he's going to capture the pawns, and the position should be a draw because this king is so far. So, and if king here, knight d4 anyway, so rook c7 looks like the most natural move, just grabbing the c pawn. Instead of that, he goes for the, I don't know why he play rook h7. I think that he gets completely crazy with rook h7. I don't know what he wants. It's okay, the h5 pawn is not important, and the rook is defending that anyway, so I can understand rook h7. So after that, Firouzja convert well the endgame. So he won a completely lost game. But okay, he won every type of position, the winning ones, the lost ones. And okay, now I'm going to show another one, play in the penultimate round of the day against the world champion Gukesh. Okay, here we have Pragg, Firouzja against Gukesh. Gukesh is the world champion, but since he won the world championship, he's not showing a great level. He doesn't want any tournament, and he's like the 25 of the world or something like that. So let's see if Gukesh against Sindarov can come back to his level, and in the Olympiad too, of course. Okay, Firouzja is going for the Catalan as in all the games, and Gukesh goes for an aggressive approach with c5, d5, knight f6, d6. I like this approach by Gukesh. c4, bishop g7, queen a4, knight c6. Okay, bishop g7, queen a4, knight c6, knight d5, queen d6. Everything is normal till here. Capture, knight c4, queen d8, knight c3, e6, knight d3. And here Gukesh made the first mistake of the game. He should play more active with short castle, sacrificing the d5 pawn. Because here after rook e8, he's attacking the e2 pawn. If white moves the pawn to e3, this bishop is going to be completely dead. So that's why rook e8 is very interesting. For example, if e4, here he has bishop d7, just sacrificing pieces. The d4 hold for the knight is incredible. He can play, for example, e3, but like I said, the bishop on c1 is very bad place. Now this bishop is coming here, so e4, bishop d4, and okay, you can take the pawn, but this is square for the knight. So, and if he defends the pawn, we can still attack in the pawn. And let's see that this bishop is completely dead. So this pawn sacrifice was better for black. Instead of that, Gukesh capture with knight takes e3, but after bishop c6, great move by Firouzja, pawn takes and d takes e3, here Firouzja reaches a completely winning position. Because okay, let's see that white change the Catalan bishop, but black have no ways to attack the right squares, because this diagonal is closed, this diagonal is closed, knight is defending 4, d5, and he have 5 pawns in front of the king. So white is not going to have problems in the right squares, and these 2 pawns are very weak. Short castle. And here Firouzja make an inaccurate move, just taking the pawn so fast. He can just play rook c1 and then e4, and these pawns are going to fall one day. The problem of take on c6 so fast is that after queen b6 and bishop a6, okay, white lost 2 tempos, moving the queen twice, and black managed to activate his pieces a little bit. But okay, white is still being fine. Queen c2, rook b8, e4. Now queen b4, okay, was slightly better, because after rook f d8, rook e1, queen b4, this is not a good timing, just bishop g5 and rook d1, and this rook is having some problems, and black cannot take on b2 because there are going to be checkmates in the A rank. example, rook d1 here, this doesn't work because rook d8 and bishop h6 winning the game. Rook d1 followed by h6 was another possibility, but rook d8 is coming and the b2 pawn is not falling. So Gukesh failed to capture the b2 pawn and he played rook d4, which is a mistake. Capture and h6 was better anyway. After rook d4, bishop e3, it's true that the rook here is a little bit strange. Okay, it's putting pressure into the c5, but one day it could be trapped and white pieces are going to be activated with rook d7, great move by Firouzja, bishop d4, and bishop h6. Now let's see that the king is in checkmate, so black have problem with the king. Queen b6, queen d2, bishop here. Now he can just capture and queen g5 followed by queen f6 and queen g7, very logical. Just take the dark square bishop and give checkmate in the dark squares. But okay, he played rook e7, who is winning anyway. After bishop e6, queen f4, f5, rook e6. Then he played queen d6, rook e7, queen e6, and he won the game against the world champion. And for the last blitz game of the day, to score 8 of 9 points in the blitz against 9 elite players, incredible result. He beat Abdusattorov with the Caro-Kan in a crazy Caro-Kan. Okay, the sharpest way to face the Caro-Kan is playing the advanced variation. But after, okay, 1 second, I need to change the players. Where is Abdusattorov here? And Gukesh out. And Firouzja here and Firouzja here. Okay, Abdusattorov, Firouzja. The sharpest way to face the Caro-Kan is the advanced variation. And here after bishop f5, white have many moves, but the sharpest one is g4, attacking the bishop, opening the white king side and going for the game. Then e6, the sacrifice is going to be an option. h4, h5 is another plan. Knight e2, knight f4. So this is the craziest line. Bishop g6, bishop e4, and then bishop g6, provoking this move is more popular. But okay, bishop g6 is fine. Knight e2 by white. He's coming with knight f4. And now c5 by Firouzja, trying to open the position and going with the knight here. h4 and now knight c6. According to the machine, knight c6 is not the best, but okay, for a rapid game is interesting, just develop the pieces. h5, bishop e4, rook h3, h6, just giving this square for this bishop. Now, okay, knight d2. And he played e6 directly. Okay, it's not the most precise move, but okay, it's very logical. Knight d2 and now e6 is a little bit better. The problem, not the problem, but here the best move of black is knight f6, and if knight d2 here now, e5, incredible move. But okay, for a human, e6 is completely fine. He captured here, and now Abdusattorov, till here he was playing perfectly, but now he made a little bit strange move. Most normal is knight d2, followed by, and if the bishop goes back, we are going to play knight f3, taking control of the a5 square is the most natural thing. Maybe he didn't want to close this fire for the rook, but okay, this is the most natural way to play. Instead of that, he plays the knight on c3, which is a little bit strange. And here Abdusattorov made a horrible move with d takes c5, just giving the black all the control to the center. The pawn on here is great place, blockading e5, because okay, these two pawns. Okay, black have an extra pawn, but these two pawns are double, and in general, the blockade on e5 is very important to keep these two pawns very well placed, and this bishop completely dead. That's one of the ideas of have the blockade on e5. That's why the machine play knight e2, knight f3 to keep these two pawns blockaded. But Abdusattorov, in a strange decision, just decided to give these two pawns a free way to advance. Firouzja played the most natural one, who is e5. Okay, knight f4 is the best move. Let's show a normal line who could be in the game. But okay, d takes c5, and Firouzja played the most natural move, who is d4. But here e5 was very, very strong, just sacrificing this pawn, but finally opening this bishop, who is the most important. But okay, d4 is fine for black, and black is better too, of course. Knight a4, knight b4. Bishop d2, knight c2, king f1. Here capture the rook is not the best, because white have so much counterplay with all his development. and black have problem with the king. And he have no development, of course. But okay, the position is still being not clear. E5 was slightly better, and then you can take the rook later. But okay, knight takes a1 is playable. C6, great move by Firouzja. B takes. Bishop c6 is better, just securing that you are going to capture this pawn and then bringing the knight to the game. Knight c5 have the problem of black can defend the pawn or with rook c8 or with queen d6. But okay, here white is still being in the game with knight b7. And if queen c7, you have this trick of knight d4, and if queen capture here, bishop c6. Queen d7 could be a 3-4 repetition, or queen b4 to play is fine, but white have so much counterplay for the knight, so the game is more or less balanced. So okay, white have black have an extra rook, extra rook, but this knight is trapped and white have more development. So the position is more or less balanced. Instead of that, Abdusattorov play knight e2, a little bit strange, closing this bishop and not taking on c6. So queen b4, knight f4, e5, and now black is just winning, and the white initiative is a little bit done. Because okay, it's true that white is still having more development, but all the black central pawns control many squares. Queen c2, trying to trade queens, knight f6. Okay, here rook b2 followed by rook b1 was stronger. Okay, he just moved the knight. And now I prefer queen b2 followed by queen b1, trading queens and winning the game. But okay, rook b2 is winning anyway. Again, rook a2 was stronger. But okay, the position is very hard to play for a blitz. Of course, there are all the pieces hanging. Black have no development, black have more material. It's very hard to play. And here the position is impossible for a blitz. But I analyze a very interesting line with the machine with all only moves, especially for white. f3 is only move to be in the game. g4 capture. All this line is completely crazy. And we reach this ending where okay, the machine say that this holdable for white is only just say 0.50, but I prefer black. I think that black have huge options of win this game. Queen a6, who is a mistake. Here queen b1 was the only winning move. This idea and capturing the g6 pawn, who is the only problem of black position, who is the king is in checkmate. So if we capture this pawn doesn't matter if we give some material. We have many extra pawns, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 extra pawns. Incredible. So the g6 pawn was the only important. Or knight b6 is the other winning move. King d7, and here again the only move who holds is f3. Knight c7, queen e7, and g4, and the position is equal. But okay, queen b7 loses because after knight here, bishop a5. Okay, it looks like white is close to be winning because he's capturing here. But Firouzja finding the only defense in the position, who was queen b1, great move, bishop here, and now queen e4, just giving the c7 knight, but the king is safe on e6. Now he give the rook to capture this bishop, but he captured all the pawns, and finally the guy of c6, and he have like 6 extra pawns here, so he won more or less easily the position. So okay, incredible first day of blitz of Firouzja, scoring 8.9. Just one day remaining. He's on the top of the leaderboard, of course, in Croatia. So let's see how ends the tournament. Bye bye.